I'm Ava Mitchell, and this is a story of how I discovered that family can sometimes be your greatest adversary, especially in business. For a decade, I dedicated my heart and soul to our small, family-owned tech company, turning it from a struggling startup into a $50 million enterprise. But success has a way of unmasking the darkest side of people, even those who are supposed to support you unconditionally. It all started back when our business was just a modest computer repair shop tucked inside a strip mall, barely scraping by. My father had founded it 2 decades earlier, and despite its financial struggles, it was his greatest pride. My sister, Lauren, was always a shining star, the straight-A student, the graduate of an elite business school, and undeniably my father's favorite. Meanwhile, I was a quiet one, the one who stayed behind to help him while earning my computer science degree at a local college. Ava, you're wasting your potential here, Lauren would say during her visits home. You should set your sights higher. But I saw something in that little shop that no one else did: possibility. While Lauren studied business theories, I was gaining first-hand experience in the real world. I was coding, troubleshooting systems, and identifying gaps in the market that others overlooked. During my final year of college, I developed our first proprietary software, a simple yet effective inventory management tool tailored for small businesses. It wasn't revolutionary, but it was affordable, user-friendly, and addressed a real need. At first, my father was skeptical, but when local businesses started purchasing licenses, his perspective shifted. "Maybe you're onto something, kiddo," he said. And for the first time, I saw a glimmer of pride in his eyes. That moment meant everything to me. If only I had known how fleeting it would be. Under my leadership, the business began to thrive. I worked tirelessly, 14-hour days, 7 days a week, investing every ounce of energy into its growth. While Lauren climbed the corporate ladder at a prestigious consulting firm in New York, I was building something real. Our small repair shop evolved into a full-fledged software development company, expanding from local clients to national corporations. My mother watched me with quiet concern. "Don't work yourself in the ground, Ava," she'd say, bringing dinner to my office. "You need a life outside of this." But I couldn't slow down. Maybe I was still chasing validation, or maybe I just wanted to prove that I could create something remarkable on my own. 5 years into our transformation, we hit our first million in annual revenue. That's when Lauren suddenly developed an interest in the family business. She quit her high-profile job and returned home. At a family dinner, she made her announcement. "I think it's time I step into my rightful place in the company," she said with her signature confidence. "With my business expertise, we can take things to the next level." My father beamed. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. We could use your professional touch around here." I sat frozen, my fork suspended in midair, struggling to process what was happening. The company I had painstakingly built was being handed to Lauren as if it were some inevitable inheritance. Swallowing my objections, I played along. Despite having zero experience in our industry, Lauren was appointed co-CEO. My father insisted it was beneficial for the company's image to have someone with her credentials at the helm. While I remained focused on product development and operations, she took charge of marketing and investor relations. For the next 5 years, the business flourished, but so did the tension. I continued creating new software, fostering client relationships, and refining our services, while Lauren crafted a public image for herself as the face of the company. She gave interviews about being a woman in tech, accepted awards for entrepreneurship, and took credit for innovations she had no part in developing. As our revenue skyrocketed to $50 million, so did the power struggle. Lauren began excluding me from key meetings, making unilateral decisions without consulting me. Slowly, methodically, she was pushing me out of the company I had built from the ground up. Being pushed aside from my own creation was painful, but nothing compared to what happened at my father's 60th birthday party. The night everything changed. As expected, the event was orchestrated by Lauren. She spared no expense, booking the grand ballroom at the city's most prestigious hotel and inviting every influential figure in our industry. It wasn't a birthday celebration. It was a carefully staged networking opportunity. That was Lauren's way. Everything had to be strategic. I arrived early to assist with the final preparations, dressed in a simple black gown. The moment Lauren spotted me, she gave me the same disapproving glance I had grown accustomed to. "Couldn't you have made more of an effort?" she whispered sharply. "These are important people, Ava." Ignoring her, I focused on welcoming guests. The room quickly filled with executives, investors, and longtime family acquaintances. Lauren moved through the crowd with the poise of a seasoned politician, shaking hands, flashing her rehearsed smile, and effortlessly commanding attention. I remained behind the scenes, ensuring the evening ran smoothly. Dinner was served, and just as I finally started to relax, Lauren tapped her glass, signaling for silence. I anticipated a standard toast, perhaps a few sentimental words about our father. Instead, she dropped a bombshell that shattered my world. "As we gather here to celebrate our father's milestone," she began, her voice steady and authoritative, "I believe this is the perfect time to share some exciting changes at Mitchell Tech." My stomach clenched. "Changes?" "The board has come to a unanimous decision," she continued, her words slicing through the air like a blade. "Our company needs a singular, forward-thinking vision to continue its success." Board meetings? What board meetings? "For too long, we've been held back by outdated methods and reluctance to evolve," she pressed on, her gaze locking onto mine. "That's why, effective immediately, I will be stepping in as the sole CEO. It's time for certain elements that no longer serve our progress to step aside." A wave of murmurs spread across the room. I sat frozen as Lauren executed her corporate coup right in front of our entire professional network. She wasn't finished. "Some individuals," she added with a mockingly sympathetic tone, "are better suited for technical roles rather than leadership." She was talking about me. "Ava has done an adequate job maintaining our legacy systems," she continued, feigning generosity. "But in today's fast-moving market, we need innovation, we need excellence. And quite frankly, she lacks the skills necessary to operate at this level." I turned to my father, silently pleading for him to intervene. Say something. Defend me. But he simply nodded along, a proud smile on his face. My mother, on the other hand, kept her eyes lowered, her hands trembling slightly on the table. Lauren wasn't done dismantling me. "The reality is," she declared, her voice rising with theatrical precision, "Ava, you're obsolete in today's business world. Your outdated ideas and lack of formal business training have become liabilities. It's time you step aside with dignity." A suffocating silence filled the room. Hundreds of eyes bore into me, waiting for my reaction. I could feel the silent judgments, the quiet agreement with Lauren's words. Everything I had built, every sleepless night, every sacrifice, was being stripped from me in real time. Slowly I stood. My chair scraped against the floor, the sound like a gunshot in the hushed room. People expected a scene, tears, a heated argument, something dramatic. Instead, I calmly picked up my purse, walked over to my father's table, and set a small wrapped gift in front of him. "Happy birthday, Dad," I said softly. Then, without looking back, I walked out, head high, shoulders squared, leaving behind the whispers, the stares, and the sister who thought she had won. That night, I sat in my home office, surrounded by awards and patents bearing my name. Lauren believed she had taken everything from me, but she had overlooked one crucial detail, something that would transform her so-called victory into her greatest mistake. As I powered up my laptop and began typing, a small smile tugged at my lips. Tomorrow would be interesting. After all, there's more than one way to run a successful business. Over the past decade, I had gained far more real-world experience than Lauren ever did in her prestigious business courses. The next morning, sunlight streamed through my window as I prepared for the inevitable confrontation. I arrived at the office before anyone else, settling into my chair as I watched the clock. At exactly 9 a.m., Lauren walked in with Dad by her side, both exuding smug confidence, expressions that wouldn't last much longer. "Ava." Lauren's voice carried a mixture of irritation and surprise. "I didn't expect to see you here. After last night, I figured you'd at least have the decency to step aside." I met her gaze, a small smile playing on my lips. I thought back to the email I had sent at 3 a.m., addressed to every major client, partner, and employee of Mitchell Tech. Just tying up a few loose ends. I replied smoothly, "But since you're here, we should probably discuss what happens next with the company." "There's nothing to discuss," Dad cut in, his tone unwavering. "Lauren is in charge now. The board already approved the decision." Yes," I said, tapping my tablet. "Let's talk about that board." With a single click, the conference room's large monitor lit up, displaying a document that made both of their faces pale. "You see, while Lauren was busy throwing lavish parties and making media appearances, I was actually building this company. And there are a few details the two of you seem to have overlooked." I zoomed in on another document, ensuring every word was crystal clear. "For starters, I own 51% of Mitchell Tech shares." Lauren's head jerked toward me. "That's not possible. Dad split our shares evenly, 25% each." I nodded. "He did, originally." I turned to Dad. 3 years ago, when the company needed extra capital to expand, you sold me 6% of your shares. You were too preoccupied attending Lauren's award ceremony to review the paperwork carefully, so you signed it without a second glance." Realization dawned on his face. Across the table, Lauren's grip tightened, her nails digging into the polished surface. This can't be," she whispered, her voice laced with disbelief. "Oh, but it is," I countered, pulling up yet another document. "And that's just the beginning." Another click, the screen filled with legal filings. The core software responsible for generating 80% of this company's revenue? It doesn't belong to Mitchell Tech. I took my time letting the words sink in before delivering the final blow. It's owned by my independent company, Innovate Solutions, LLC. Mitchell Tech has only been licensing it from me, and that agreement... I glanced at my watch. It expired about 10 minutes ago. Dad sank into a chair, his face ashen. "The renewal papers," he murmured. "The ones you gave me last week. The ones I never got around to signing." "Yes, those." I confirmed, my tone calm. "You were too occupied helping Lauren organize her grand event to read them, so I chose not to submit them." Lauren's face twisted with fury. "You conniving little..." "Careful." I interrupted, my voice dangerously smooth. "You might want to hear the rest before you finish that sentence." I tapped the screen again. This time, a cascade of emails filled the display. "You see, while you were busy publicly announcing my supposed exit, I was reaching out to our most important clients." I gestured to the highlighted responses. Most of them signed their contracts with Mitchell Tech because of me, my expertise, my innovation. Last night, I informed them of the leadership change and my departure. Lauren frantically pulled out her phone, scrolling through her messages, her confidence cracking as she absorbed the implications. "Would you like to know how many have already activated their contract termination clauses?" I tilted my head slightly. "Or how many of our top developers, who, by the way, work for Innovate Solutions, not Mitchell Tech, have accepted positions at my new company?" Through the glass walls, I saw employees gathering, murmuring as they checked their own emails. The shift in energy was undeniable. Lauren's breathing grew uneven. "You can't just take everything." "You mean I can't reclaim what was mine?" I asked, my voice steady. "You thought a degree in Dad's approval gave you the right to erase me from my own creation. You thought you could publicly humiliate me and walk away unscathed." I stood, smoothing my dress, letting the weight of my words settle over them. "So here's where we stand," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "You have two choices. Option 1, I take my shares, my software, my clients, and my employees. Mitchell Tech becomes an empty shell, and you're left to explain why. Here's your rewritten passage with fresh wording, while keeping the emotional depth and intensity intact. To all those esteemed guests from last night's event, the question of why Mitchell Tech's value just plummeted to nothing would soon be unavoidable." Dad looked like he had aged a decade in the last 10 minutes. His voice was barely above a whisper when he asked, "What's the second option?" I took a steady breath, meeting their shocked expressions with unwavering calm. "Option 2, both of you step down," I said, my tone measured yet firm. "I take full control of Mitchell Tech." You keep your shares as silent partners, collecting dividends but having no authority over decisions. Lauren gets a generous severance package and glowing recommendations for her next career move far away from here. Lauren's face flushed crimson, her anger barely contained. You planned this all along, didn't you? You were just waiting for the perfect moment to betray us. I let out a dry, humorless laugh. No, Lauren. I spent 10 years being the dutiful daughter, the supportive sister. And for 10 years, you both treated me like I was expendable. I met her glare without flinching. I built this company from the ground up while you took credit for my work. I only made this decision. I checked my watch about 12 hours ago, right after you called me worthless in front of the people I helped build this company with. My phone buzzed again. Another major client had just terminated their contract. Time's almost up, I said, tilting my head. So what's it going to be? The next hour passed in a blur of signatures, legal formalities, and tense silences. By noon, I was alone in what was now officially my office, staring out at the city skyline. The company I had poured my soul into was finally mine, yet the victory felt strangely hollow. My family lay in ruins, trust shattered like fragile glass. That evening, my mother came to see me, her eyes red from crying. Did it have to end this way? She asked softly. I held her gaze, my voice gentle but firm. They left me no choice. If I hadn't fought back, they would have taken everything I built and cast me aside without hesitation. She exhaled slowly, sadness written across her face. And now, I turned my laptop toward her, revealing the blueprints of the company's future, expansions, groundbreaking innovations, ideas I had held back for far too long. Now, I said, my chest feeling lighter than it had in years, I build something even greater, this time without the burden of people who saw me as nothing. 1 year later, under my leadership, Mitchell Tech didn't just recover. It flourished, tripling in value. Lauren found work at a startup in Silicon Valley. Humbled, perhaps wiser, Dad retired, finally realizing that his golden child had almost destroyed his legacy. We see each other at holidays, maintaining a polite but distant relationship, the fractures in our family too deep to mend completely. Sometimes, in the quiet hours of the night, I glance at old family photos and feel the sting of what was lost. But then I remember that night at the party, the disdain on Lauren's face, the way Dad silently sided with her, and the ache turns into resolve. In both business and family, respect isn't handed out freely. It's earned. They learned that lesson too late. Word of what happened spread through industry circles, turning my story into a cautionary tale about underestimating the wrong person. At conferences, I often hear murmurs. That's Ava Mitchell, the one who... They never finish the sentence. They don't have to. My success speaks louder than words. Last week, I received an unexpected invitation to speak at the graduation ceremony of Lauren's former business school. The topic? Hidden strengths, the power of underestimated leaders. I accepted with a knowing smile. I already had the perfect speech in mind. Mitchell Tech continues to thrive, but more importantly, I've found peace. I no longer seek revenge. I seek growth. As I sit in my office, overlooking the city, I recall something my mother once told me. Success is the best revenge. But wisdom is knowing when to stop seeking revenge and start seeking something greater. She was right. I keep that unopened birthday gift I never gave Dad, a photo album documenting Mitchell Tech's journey from a tiny repair shop to the empire it is today. Maybe one day, when the wounds have faded enough, I'll give it to him. Until then, it remains on my shelf, a quiet reminder of the strength we find in the moments we are most underestimated.